Hey everybody, Kangstone here for Lightspeed-saber League, the world's fastest light-based fencing, and on today's video I'd like to talk to you about buying your first combat lightsaber. Now if you've been thinking about buying one for a while, you've probably been considering two main things, price and manufacturer, but you may have forgotten one important thing, which is style. What kind of combat style do you want to be able to express with your new lightsaber? Because the saber you select will either hinder or enhance your style, so it's important to know what you want in terms of combat and then make the right selection accordingly. One of the coolest things about Lightspeed-saber is that tons and tons of styles fit into the Lightspeed-saber canon. It's one thing that I'm really proud of. That doesn't mean that all styles are equivalent, okay? They're not. Some are definitely better than others, but if you can dream it, you can definitely do it. Now before we begin, I'd like to make sure that you understand that I'm going to be assuming you're going into Lightspeed-saber fencing. So I'm going to assume that you're going to be plugging in a Lightspeed blade into your new hilt. Regardless though, even if you decide you're going to go into heavy grade fighting like TSL for example, most of this advice should still transfer, so you should be okay. The other thing I'm going to assume is that this is going to be your first lightsaber, so that means I'm going to keep things relatively simple and relatively cheap. I will go over custom sabers and Ren sabers very briefly, but it will not be the focus of this video. Okay, so that covers everything before we begin, so let's go ahead and start talking about buying your saber. We're going to start at the longer end of the Lightspeed-saber weapon cannon and talk about this, the Ultra Sabers Dominik's V4. Now this comes in at just shy of 12.5 inches long, which is the current Ray class hilt length maximum. And as you can see, this is great for two-handed combat. Tons of leverage, really powerful attacks, powerful deflections. So if you are a Kendoka, this will actually feel right at home for you. The weight is fairly close to a Shinai, or at least as close as it can possibly get. And also, if you're not a Kendoka, but maybe you are a counter shooter, then this will also work well for you. So you can grip your saber at the bottom, get tons of extra reach right here, and counterattack all your opponent's movements. Not great for defense in this conformation, but you don't do any of that anyway, right? You're probably not going to find a weapon like this at Saberforge, not in this particular length. So if you want this particular length of hilt, then you're going to have to go with Ultra Sabers. Shoot for something between $80 and $124. If you go higher than that, you're going to start getting sabers that are too long for regulation, or you're going to start getting sabers that have all kinds of weird bits and bobs and fins and spikes and horns that are unfortunately going to make the saber illegal as well. So stick to Ultra Sabers for this, between $80 and $124. Now we'll go to the shorter end of the Lightspeed-saber weapon cannon and talk about this saber, the Ultra Sabers Initiate V2. At just $55, this saber is a steal. It is light, it is fast, it is nimble, and it has a really thin body, so it feels really good in the hand. If you are a traditional fencer, or an escrimador, or a knife fighter, or a stick fighter, this could be the saber for you. Now one caveat I have on this saber in particular is that it does have a thin body, which means it also has a thin inside as well, so some of the higher end options will not be available for you. And if you decide you want to take it to a custom sabersmith later to upgrade, you're going to have some trouble because there's just not enough room on the inside to pack in all the necessary components. If you want more choices for the body as well as for the internals and possibly higher upgradability, head over to Saberforge instead, where you can get a Shoto saber for $160. You'll have more choices for the body, more choices for the electronics, and you'll have much better options for upgrading it later. Now we're going to talk about my personal favorite saber setup, which is the medium length saber. This is an Ultra Sabers Initiate V3 at about 10 inches long. It is not too long and not too short. That means it's good for one-handed combat, so you can want to grip it at the top here for a good balance between offense and defense, or you can grip it at the pommel for good offense, or you can double grip it like so for good power. So you can express lots of different styles with this one saber, which is why I recommend this saber for beginners and generalists. So if you want to pack in lots of techniques and styles in one single saber, then this is an excellent value. At $60 at Ultra Sabers, you can't really go wrong with that. If you want more choices, however, then you might want to head over to Saberforge instead, where for $175 you can pick between about 10 different apprentice level sabers that are going to be about the same length. Alright, so that covers basically all the Ray class sabers that you could choose from. Now I'll talk about some of the alternatives. This here is a Ren saber, and specifically it is a Saberforge Templar. I have modified it a little bit to bring it up to regulations, so I've added these extenders onto the back end here. If you are a HEMA practitioner, then this might be the saber for you, or if you have experience with longsword. Technique with this is pretty traditional, I would say. Only thing is just be careful not to kill yourself with the quillins, because you can kill yourself with the quillins in Lightspeed-saber. And if you are a Kondoka, then this might work for you as well. It's probably a bit heavier than you're used to, but the technique is probably going to be pretty similar. Alright, finally, I will talk to you real briefly about custom sabers. I generally wouldn't recommend this for your first saber, but if you're really sure about what you like, then this could be the right choice for you, as long as you find yourself a good saber smith. In this case, I have a Zen Fang built by our chief lightsmith, Vickers Zen. This saber falls into our Tyrant class hilts at just 6 inches long. It is a committed one-handed saber, and since it has the weight up in the blade here, it has a nice military saber feel. So if you like that, this could be the thing for you. As long as you find yourself a good sabersmith, they're going to make sure that you have good quality parts on the inside, and that they also follow good assembly practices so that you have a saber that lasts you for a really long time. So make sure you find a good sabersmith before you take this step though. So I know what you're thinking, Ultra Sabers or Saberforge? Well, they really exist in two different economic tiers, but if I really had to compare them, I would look at two key features, cost and combat advantage. So what I have here is a Saberforge Consular. They don't make this one anymore, by the way. And here an Ultra Sabers Initiate V3. They're both pretty comparable sabers at about the same length, so they would both fall under the medium length raid class, as I discussed. But one is a lot more expensive than the other, and one is also a lot lighter and faster than the other. And that would be the Saberforge Consular. Most Saberforges are going to be skinnier and faster and lighter than Ultra Sabers will be. But of course they're going to cost over $100 more. Okay? So if that matters to you, if you really want that combat edge of speed, then you might want to spend a little bit more and get yourself a Saberforge. Right? Now if that doesn't matter to you, then you're going to want to go with an Ultra Sabers instead. This is just $60. It is a steal really in comparison. Also, you may be thinking about combat worthiness, meaning how long will the electronics last. In my opinion, there's really not much difference. They're about the same combat worthiness. These will all go bad eventually. That's just something you have to accept. They're getting hit by things. The electronics will go bad. And in my opinion, they're going to be about the same for both Saberforged and Ultra Sabers. So if you want to save money, I would just go with the Ultra Saber. If you really want that combat edge, then go ahead with your Saberforge. I could definitely say more about each company, but I think I'll leave that for another video. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I hope that this video was helpful. And if you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I hope that your first saber is a great one. I hope that you have a really good time, and I hope that you do it within Lightspeed-saber League. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hey everyone, Kank Snow here. Just want to thank you for watching our video and to remind you to always do Lightspeed saber fencing with the proper equipment. Now I'm not just talking fencing gloves and a mask, I'm also talking the Lightspeed blade. You can get these along with shirts, jackets, and patches at lightspeed-saber.com. There you'll also find our competition rules, techniques, and a fighter map showing affiliated clubs and schools and individuals near you, so you can add yourself to the map and get together with others and form your own training base. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for your support.